2, 1, play.
That does remind me, I have my own video I wanted to share with you guys later.
Yeah, me too.
Nice.
Samesies. And it's the third part of something that we all love.
Oh no!
Oh, I like that title sequence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very Saved by the Bell.
The 1980s. A more carefree generation that we have a lot of fond nostalgia for. It's prominently known for such film classics as Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, The Goonies, Blade Runner, and Karate Kid. And to TV series such as Family Ties, Cheers, the very impolitically correct Married with Children, Miami Vice, and to the all-time classic in Knight Rider. And there are some that are lesser-known pictures, such as the subject of today's review, 1987's The Secret of My Success. Has this held up over time, or has it aged poorly? Well, only one way to find out as we head back to the 1980s once more. You know, I think what I like about this movie is the pacing. The story moves at a fluid enough rate where you're not given too much information too quickly, and at the same time it doesn't slow to a crawl that you're marking time for it to pick up the pace. I like to think of this as a Cinderella rags to riches story where our protagonist, Brantley Foster, played by the talented Michael J. Fox, starts off as a mailroom clerk wanting to ascend up the ladder as a financer of the company ran by his distant uncle, Howard Prescott. There's a similar sense of duality in the essence of Clark Kent to Superman and Bruce Wayne to Batman. Foster is leading a double life, one as the mailroom clerk who has ambitions of taking the company forward, and the other as his pseudonym, Carlton Whitfield, posing as a new executive. The only thing that remains the same is the charisma and aggressive business approach that he has to take the company forward when he sees the flaws in how the company is being run and knows it can be run more efficiently with some tweaks and expanding rather than making budget cuts. While the story is charming enough, there are some elements that would be deemed as inappropriate today. Such as Foster getting changed in his office and in the elevator in front of his secretary, which is the kind of thing that would lead to disciplinary acts in the workplace, and this segment when he's being interviewed for the umpteenth time would be looked at in a very dim light today.
I want this job. I need it. I can do it. Everywhere I've been today, there's always been something wrong. Too young, too old, too short, too tall.
I'm gonna wait to hear Lid's reaction.
I can be older. I can be taller. I can be anything.
Can you be a minority woman?
Okay, folks, I know it's right here, but that wouldn't fly today. Other elements that we can see as too risque is when Foster discovers the woman he was sleeping with in the beginning turns out to be married to his uncle, in effect making Vera his auntie. Okay, folks, how many times do we have to say this?
Repeat after me, people. Incest is not wincest. It's gross.
Well, technically, it's not incest if they're not even related.
She's not his aunt biologically, but the implications can still tread on very thin ground.
I mean, he didn't know!
Sure, it's played for laughs, but at the same time, I think given the passage of time since this release, if it were being written today, it would more than likely be cut. Other implications added for Foster is his love interest, Christy, played by Helen Slater, who was mostly known for playing the titular character in 1984's
That was one hell of a jacket.
who also happens to be part of an extramarital affair with her boss, Howard Prescott. So, we basically
just everyone is fucking everyone these days, back in the 80s.
Harper, but with none of the charm nor charisma. One of the more amusing segments is the midnight scene at the country house where multiple members of the party are going from room to room set to the score of Yellow's Oh Yeah. Also, the symbolism that is used when that song is first played makes me question how this movie got away with being a PG back in the day. Because you don't even need to read between the lines of the sexual innuendos that are on display.
What?
What rating was this?
PG.
PG movie?
There's 2 to 3 love scenes in the movie that, again, made me question why this wasn't a PG-13. Because what parent would take their kids to see this when most kids then and now would be able to read through the subtext of what's going on? Okay,
kids are
folks,
not
there's a
stupid
strong
anymore.
chance
Not
I might be
really.
reading too much into this.
Well, they
but
didn't have
I
the
don't know
internet
if I
back
would have
then.
included those scenes. The grand
What?
payoff of the story is when you see Brantley, Christie, Vera, Fred Melrose, and Foster's secretary Sheila acquiring enough assets to stage a takeover of Penrose, with Vera assuming the role as chairperson and firing her soon-to-be divorced husband, Howard, as she was the daughter of the founder of the company. I would say the story itself is charming enough and you get to care about the characters, but as I said earlier, there are some aspects that have really not aged well. It's a product of its time and should be treated as such. Not everyone has the foresight to look 3.5 decades into the future and see how society would change. But if you're able to
And
look
nobody
past
has that
that,
kind of
you'll find a
foresight.
charming Cinderella-esque story where you get to see the protagonist get the reward and the a-hole of the movie get his more than just desserts. And that, in of itself, is satisfying. At this point in the late 80s, Michael had been catapulted into the stratosphere through his breakout role as Marty McFly in 1985's Back to the Future. There's still a lot of that Marty charm in his performance as Brantley Foster, with the way he just has his cut to the chase, take no prisoners, tell it like it is attitude. I think audiences can appreciate a character like this because they know where they stand with someone who's just direct. And Michael does this excellently as Foster and his alias, Carlton Whitfield. Some of the more amusing scenes are the awkward segments he has with Margaret as his sexually aggressive Aunt Vera. As I mentioned earlier, it is played for laughs, but you can't help but feel bad for Foster when he's in, essentially, a rock and hard place scenario. The story is mostly told from his perspective as a farm boy from Kansas that wants to make it big as an executive in New York. I think what sells his performance to the audience is how he's juggling his double life as Foster and Whitfield, while trying not to get discovered by his mailroom boss and his creepy uncle. When we first see Christie, she's very cold and distant towards Brantley. It's not too far removed from how executives were then, as Helen would actually observe female executives in how they would behave in a very military style in being proficient and focusing on the task at hand. As she gets to know and understand Foster's plans more, like a flower she begins to open up and let her guard down. Helen has amazing chemistry with Michael with how they play off each other and how she makes it look like her character is gushing for Brantley. And I couldn't help but see a resemblance between her and the late Princess Diana of Wales, as the facial features and hair is unmistakable. Margaret gives a convincing performance as a sexually frustrated wife of the company president, as she just seems to have sex on the brain, from when she's being driven to her country home and to when she corners Brantley in her husband's office. Oh no. That's the kind of thing that would lead to lawsuits and therapy. I wonder if there were times Michael
A lot of therapy.
is she acting here? Because with a good actor, you can't tell if they're just doing the scene or enjoying it too much. You decide. The late Jordan does a good job of making you hate his character. He's bossy, smarmy, slimy, condescending, and creepy. The way he even talks down to his nephew is the sort of behaviour that is frowned upon, not just from a business standpoint, but also morally. But given how comfortable the character was at being immoral at this stage, it's more than likely he had been a creep for a while. Well, if he's getting jeered, you could make the argument that he's doing his job right. Like most movies I've reviewed over the years, the score acts as a character in acting applicably for what the scenes are looking to do. Whether it's the fantasy moment where Foster is gushing for Christie, or to the grand payoff at the end where Foster reaches for what he had been seeking. Success as an executive. It's very light rock and roll, which was commonplace from the likes of Huey Lewis and the News to the type of material that Bruce Springsteen would put out with Dancing in the Dark, which in that music video featured the first ever appearance of Courtney Cox, which also gave birth to the Carlton Dance years later on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You can tell it's very much an 80s movie with the keyboard score that plays in the background, and it's the same type that would play in 1990s Home Alone. And what 80s flick would be complete without that quintessential sax? Gonna be honest, I kinda miss that use of saxophone performances in movies where it's able to give a score personality. Plus, it's sassy and classy. This is also back when recording artists would have their songs played in the movie before studios would have their own original scores featured more prominently. I can only presume that's due to the rate of inflation over time that would have likely made music labels charge studios more for the use of their artists' material. Whereas in the 80s, movie studios would reach out to recording artists to have them produce tracks that would not only help promote their film, but it also helped the artists out as well, as their tracks would get featured in the soundtrack and the movie. Although Yellow's Oh Yeah is used in the movie, it does not feature on the soundtrack, nor does Katrina and the Waves' Walking on Sunshine, both of which are great songs. I would say that the score and the soundtrack used in this picture is one of the more reprising features, as it has such an infectious, upbeat, and energetic feel that Cindy Crawford in the world that this movie inhabits. Because it makes you feel like you could make anything you want happen. That's a beautiful and powerful thing. The movie grossed a profit of $110 million against a budget of $10 to $12 million. If you adjust that for 2020, and it would be $255 million today. It garnered mixed reviews from the likes of Roger Ebert that rated the movie 3 out of 5 stars, citing that Michael J. Fox was a desperate censor that must have struggled with the shift of moods from comedy, slapstick, sex farce, and to boardroom brawls. Whereas Vincent Canby of the New York Times felt that the movie was close to being inspired with the way Brantley was leading Double Lives. It debuted #1 at the box office, taking in $7.8 million on its opening weekend, April 10, 1987. It stayed at #1 for 5 weeks and would go on to outgross RoboCop, Lethal Weapon, and Dirty Dancing. It even made an additional $29 million through video rentals. The movie has been enjoyed on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray since 1987. I'm MJ Knight, and we went back to the boardroom for the secret of my success.
Yes! God, yes.
Executive.
You definitely improved on your editing.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely like the use of music in the background during both the clips, we call it the voiceovers and the on-camera stuff. If there's one thing I would have one change I would have suggested is that I noticed how at the very beginning you cut the music off as you came on screen, or you appeared on camera. You could have let like the music continue on during your introduction. Other than that, like editing was like completely solid.
Thank you.
And the use of music definitely helps because it's something that I started using myself. I started using music during my voiceovers and my videos as a means to liven up what would have been a very empty, sterile listening experience. So like the use of music definitely helps, like how would I say? It helps lighten up the mood and the atmosphere of your videos.
I I'll take that on board.
Yeah. I don't think that there's anything wrong with having music constantly playing in the background, like as long as it doesn't overpower the rest of the audio. And also, it can kind of help you in terms of like avoiding copyright detection when you're playing a video clip and the music is playing over the movie audio, as long as the movie clip itself doesn't have its own music. In which case, the two songs would have easily clashed, like when you were talking about the song "Oh Yeah." That would have been a good place to just let the video clip play by itself.
To answer the Co-92's question, the only blooper that was in there was like another Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd thing where it would have been like a hostile corporate takeover, and I didn't.
Oh my god.
I didn't feel like that was worth putting like 20 seconds of a blooper in it. Like, if you're gonna have a blooper reel, at least have it be a minute and a half at the very least. And I just didn't think 20 seconds was worth it. Because most of the time I didn't really stumble too much, because I tend to find the camera segments are just useful for things like where it's short and concise, or if it's something witty, like that's the kind of thing that would lead to lawsuits and therapy, because I find I work better when I've got voiceover, when I'm doing voiceovers, because the script is right there in front of me, and I'm terrible at remembering my lines, because I think when you know that you're being recorded on camera, you're like, don't fuck up my lines, don't fuck up my lines, don't fuck up my lines. And I'll probably get to maybe like 80% through of what I'm reading through, and then all of a sudden I trip over my tongue, and it's just like, fuck. It's like, I'll do that all over again. And I just find, like I say, it's easier just to do a voiceover, because one of the things I remember someone saying back in the day, you're reading it too robotic. But then the problem is, if I try to say the lines whilst making it like a fluid reading, I then trip over my lines whilst I'm doing it. So I find the happy medium that I found doing it the way I'm doing it, it works for me. And, you know, everyone has their own style. There are some people that are able to narrate like they're reading it as their own words. I don't really have that capability as of yet. I like to think I've gotten better, but I work with what I work with, and I was actually thinking of putting another like sign for lids up where Vera is coming onto Bradley, where she would have put up a sign, I need an adult.
I was thinking that. I'm like, I need an adult. I need an adult.
But when I saw this movie originally, back in the day, had to hazard a guess, mid to late 90s. Some of the dated elements just flew over my head, because, you know, mid to late teenager at the time, it's just like, eh. But when you hear like that question of, can you be a minority woman, I was like, you can't say that today. That's...
Oh, no.
I mean, wait, was it during the 80s? Wasn't this like the time when like affirmative action sort of became a thing, where it's like they needed to fill out a diversity quota? Or was that like later on in like the 2000s?
Pass.
Because I think they might have been referencing that.
Yeah, but still.
Oh,
Still.
that makes sense.
It's just, I just remember looking at that thinking, that just comes across as so inappropriate. I mean, granted, the 80s was...
I don't know. Well, why is it appropriate? I don't get it.
I think,
like, you're saying like you can be anything, but it's like, can you be this? And it's like, no. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too ignorant, but please explain to me.
I think probably because the generation that we live in is so quick to shoot at anything that could be taken as offensive, that, I mean, I even spoke to a couple of people at work, explained the scene to them, and they said, yeah, that question wouldn't get asked today, because you will get people that take things the wrong way on just about anything. And I'm just looking at thinking, I don't know if I would ask that question today. That's just... Ew.
All right.
And of course, the thing with him and his auntie, I get where Kaiju's saying it's not really incest if she's not actually related to him biologically, but it will still get looked at as wrong. I mean, I told Win about that piece, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna have you, repeat your line." She's like, "Ooh, gimme." I thought about actually having like the words type out on screen where it goes, "Repeat after me, people," but I thought, maybe for another time. But I thought that was just perfect for what I had her do, and only reason I opted for this as an opener is, it's not a movie people hear about so often, and it just shows that Michael J. Fox could do something else, but aside from Family Ties or Back to the Future back in the day, and those are the two things he's prominently known for, but he did do other things. As for the opening reveal, I was looking for something on Playset where it was short and to the point and old school looking, because 80s retro's the thing at the moment. So I thought, yeah, it's quicker than what my previous reveal was, and I just felt like, it was time to retire the former, because I didn't really use it that much in the last 2 seasons, and I didn't really feel like Secret of My Success was justified for having a custom movie opening. So just thought, no, just go with this and then just lead in with that. And it's when I decided, let's upgrade everything else. Let's upgrade the scoreboard, let's upgrade the credits, because every once in a while you gotta change things up. A friend of mine once said to me once, this was actually when I was promoting Blue Reflections about 10 years ago on Blip. I missed that website. He says, the thing I've noticed with you is you seem to reinvent yourself over time, and that's actually a good thing, because if you don't adapt and roll with the times, you become stale, stagnant, irrelevant, and left in the past. And I just felt for real features it was time just to have an upgrade. And that reveal only cost me $10 to do. To be fair, that was the one I also did. For Oni's reveal, his was actually in the free section, because Placeit do their thing every once in a while where they offer X amount of video intros where they were for free. So I'm like, I'll do that one for him. No biggie. So where I've also got one, it's not a reveal. What I'm doing eventually, once I get the money for this, is Raiden's having his avatar upgraded. He's seen the preview of what is going to get upgraded to. Win's going to get upgraded. Lids, did you see yours in the end?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. The thing is, though, they're all $40 each, because they're all done professionally. So I gotta wait till I get the money for each one of them. Although it might happen sooner than you think, because aside from the fact I'm going after my first DSLR camera, because Kaiju did you see in the messages on Discord regarding my my current camcorder? No?
I believe so. You said you were going to be upgrading?
Yeah, what it is, it's not the problem with the camcorder itself, it's the AC adapter that I've used to charge it. It, for whatever reason, it will no longer charge it up, and the USB cable only charges it up seconds at a time. So I'm going for a Canon 250D which they say is like the best beginners camera for DSLRs and vlogging and what have you. And it's also one that has an external mic input as well, so that will finally cure the hissing white noise in the background. And the only reason for the camera that I was using for this review was actually just using my bridge camera just as a temporary measure, which, alright, it doesn't have the hissing in the background, but the audio's a little on the weird side. But you work with what you have at the time. But no, hopefully in a couple of weeks or a month, the DSLR camera will be in there, and what you're seeing in the background, that was actually the first usage of the new green screen, because I actually have a green screen canvas cloth. It's just that the photo frame came, I think, just before Christmas, but because I'd already got the Superman review filmed at the time, I just thought, leave it till next season. Do it then. The only problem I found is, because it's a different shade of green, I had to move much further away from it, because I was actually fading into the background as a result. I mean, I know a few people like me to do that, but word up to the haters, not happening anytime soon. Besides, Raiden will just come out and slander you.
Yep.
But no, certain things are moving into place, and Raiden, Friday is probably going to get moved to next season because,
Okay.
well, it would have been Short Circuit in a couple of weeks' time, but it's going to be a movie where Kaiju's avatar is going to pop up and just says, ... I hate you.
Oh yeah, are we still doing that thing that you want me to work with you on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because you never got back to me on that.
Oh, sorry. Around Christmas time was a little bit hectic at work, as Stephen can appreciate as well, because by the time I got to Christmas Eve and up to New Year's Eve, I was just burnt out. I think the only thing we did Christmas Eve was we watched Home Alone, and then we watched Die Hard, because screw you all, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Changed my mind.
That's great.
And it was a nice Christmas Eve evening with Domino's garlic bread, pizza, and Domino's cookies.
Coincidentally enough, I also celebrated Christmas with Domino's and Home Alone.
Oh, nice.
Has to be said,
Yeah.
Home Alone's aged reasonably well. It's still got that fresh quality to it, and we want Angels with Filthy Souls as a movie, damn it!
Seriously.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
You love me.
The thing that I love in the
You
second...
gotta do better than that.
The thing I love in the second
I
movie...
love you.
I love that in the second movie where he goes, Cheeks, Boney Bob, Cliff.
It's a lie. Don't give me that. You've been smooching with everybody. It took me until like years later, because as a kid I didn't get it, but it took me until years later until I realized what they were implying.
Oh my god. Same. I'm sorry. That's the same thing for me. I'm like, oh.
Like, what is smooching?
Like, what?
Also, in that movie, I like the fact
You're like, he's accusing her of being a whore.
Also, the attention to continuity that they carried over. Harry had the M burnt into the palm of his hand.
Yes. Oh my god.
Oh,
I love going back to that trap of the first movie. It was hilarious, and it would not happen in real life.
No.
Trust me. Go to YouTube and go to Physicians React to Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yes. Seen that.
Dude,
I
oh
saw
my
that.
god. Like in Home Alone 2, when Marv unknowingly launched Harry through the car. Yeah, you die from that.
Mm-hmm.
Good lord.
Or the time where Marv got that staple gun in his you-know-what.
oh God.
Or the iron to the face.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
Or the
Or
flamethrower
nail-
to the scalp.
Yikes.
Or electrocution via touching.
Yeah, he's dead on contact. Good lord. But no. Like I said, had fun making that review. Mainly because I felt like it was time to sort of loosen the handle a little bit and just be a tiny bit snarkier. But then again, that's, for the last 4 years hanging out with Win. Love you. But no, like I say, that was fun. That was fun to work with. I don't know. I think it's because I did have an idea of possibly something else to go in, but because I had mentioned it after the Superman review last season, and some of you said I'd never even heard of this movie, I'm like, okay, I know what to do for the opener. And like I say, it meant sitting down and rewatching through that movie, and like I say, certain elements when I saw it originally back in the day just flew right over my head, and then I see that with a fresh set of eyes. Like in Raiden, if someone came up to like one of your family members and said, "Oh, can you be a minority woman for this job?" He's like, "Bruh, what?"
Their jaw would be instantly removed.
Like I say, that there's certain things you can't say today, especially in the Twitter generation. Oh, good lord.
Oh
Oh
no.
no, absolutely
Stay
not.
with Twitter. That's all I gotta say.
Ugh. And some of the symbolism, that was only like half the stuff, because as the song, as Yellow's "Oh Yeah" was focusing in, you'd see bits where Vera is taking the shoes off and the camera's focusing on her legs, rubbing up against her own legs. I'm like,
Oh my God.
originally Kaiju's avatar was gonna be, should I get turned on by this?
No, this should have been what my avatar should have said.
Go to horny jail.
But I just felt like, have Draco pop up really awkwardly, go, how much symbolism?
How much symbolism is too much symbolism?
Because you see,
All the symbolism.
as soon as you saw like the aerials go up and down and the windshield sprinklers going off, I'm like, yeah, you don't need to explain this. Oh, and again, how was this movie PG? I didn't even go into, after Foster drops Vera off back at her country home, she persuades him to stay the rest of the day, and, well, Raiden would have popped up with a sign going, "Cougar alert." Because she not only yanks his shorts off, but she decides to get a little frisky as well.
Oh my God.
Again, I look back at that movie and I'm like, this should have been PG-13 at the very least, because alright, you don't see anything out on display, but it's like, you don't need to have things explained to you to where it's implied, because there's quite a few scenes where Foster's in his apartment and you can hear his neighbors banging against the door, where you hear a woman go, "Oh," I'm like, no, that's not PG. No. But if you ever get a chance, to see it, by all means, go in open-minded, but you're gonna come out of it thinking, this movie was hornier than I gave it credit. The only reason I went to go back to pick up on DVDs is because it's Michael J. Fox, What's not to like? Although not a lot of people like to talk about Doc Hollywood, which there's a few elements in that movie that Cars actually ripped off from it. And when I actually watched it years later, I actually did connect the dots with it, because with Cars, you have an outsider going to this rural community, ends up causing a bit of damage, and ends up working off the damage and becomes, beloved by the local community, falls in love with the local girl. You look right back at Doc Hollywood, those same elements are there, and I'm like, now, and this is where I hear Kaiju speaking in my head. It's like, now on the one hand, could be just pure coincidence, or too conveniently coincidental. Make of that what you will. Odd question. Should the review have been a bit longer, or was it at the right length?
No, it was the right length.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, because usually with most reviews there will be a section for like animation or visual effects, but I don't think that qualified for that movie. Unless there's something about that. Unless there's something about that they didn't release in the director's commentary. So I don't know. Yeah, like I say, it's one of those movies that doesn't really get too talked about these days. Although someone dared me at one point, I dare you to go and make a review about Blazing Saddles. I'm like, oh good lord.
Oh,
Do it.
There
good
will
bite,
be
monetization.
there will be so many censorship bleeps put in place, because because there are certain racial slurs in the movie, and because
But you gotta realize these are people of the land, MJ.
I know, it's just that
the common people of the common clay, morons.
I'm trying to say it whereby my movie review series are usually family friendly but not kidified, so I like to have it at a level whereby certain words will get by, but there are certain words that's like, you can't say that. Although the one exception I did use for the Back to the Future Part 3 review is I didn't censor Marty saying he's an asshole. Because that would have done a bit of disservice, because, well, he finally learned his lesson. He actually overcame his insecurities. But, yeah. I mean, Steve, do you agree with most of my assessment in there, and were you a little bit taken aback by some of the rather impolitically correct aspects?
Yes, I agree with you that some of that would not fly today. Though I've never actually seen the movie before. Might be something I actually try to find and watch.
One quick check. Let me just see. Secret of My Success. Is it on Netflix? Secret. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Oh, it was.
Wait a minute. What if it's on Amazon Prime?
It probably is. Let me check.
Because in that,
Of My Success.
because if that is the case, I can just press the button and watch it on my TV.
Let me just see. Yeah, it's on Prime Video.
Nice.
Yeah, I have the listings here. Prime Video, Blu-ray, DVD, and someone's being real ambitious, selling it for $17.32 on VHS. Good luck with that. But yeah, that is available. Wow, they're actually selling on $9.44 on DVD. Yeah, but DVD is at a point now where it's not going to get any more expensive nor any cheaper because it doesn't need to be. Alright, Lids, you as well. Were you a little bit taken aback by some of the things that were said in that?
To some degree, yeah. It's like, I mean, time period for what it was. It's the 80s. You get that some of this phrasing and the speech is going to be a little outdated, but it's like just hearing them talk about appropriation. I'm like, oh. I mean, what I understood about the whole affirmative action thing did take place at that point, but still, like it's still a little iffy to me, especially with the current race relations we have. Yeah, but it's still it is a little dated at times, but again, it wasn't a terrible movie, so yeah, didn't hurt it too much.
And like I say, that's why I had you just pop up the sign, not touching that. Like I said, I would have had you come in with a sign saying, I need an adult. I'm like, would that be overkilling it? And Win being Win. It was just perfect. Alright, same question to Raiden.
I mean, honestly, just seeing all of this, it's just like, how did this get just... Oh man, it is just... Oh my god, stuff that I saw in that movie was just out of this world. Stuff that... Oh boy. I just have no words with everything that happens. That's all it is. But yeah, you did a good job with it. But damn, all the stuff that I see, like you said, time in, time out, stuff like that would not fly. Like it's pretty laughable and all the wrong reasons. So it was pretty...
Yeah. Especially with the stuff with his auntie. It's just like, nope. Again, it's like Kaiju said. I get what Kaiju says. Like, it's not incest per se, but at the same time, it's just like, ugh. I told my brother about it. He goes, you should have put this in. What was this? Filmed in Texas? I'm like... It's like, I don't know if I should put that. If it had been Oni, well, you know what Oni would have said.
Yeah.
Remember when we were, during like the very first season, when there was that rumor that someone was gonna write in like Frozen 2, Elsa and Anna were gonna be a thing. It's just like, no. If I remember, he goes, "You sick fuck! That is Alabama levels of road." And oddly enough, this is when Liz was still broadcasting via her webcam. You just see her cringing, like, I don't want. Well, I thought I'd get a slightly awkward laugh from Liz, but never mind. Yeah. Ugh. Actually, what is my list for the rest of the season? Because like I say, Friday's going to get moved to next season because I've got ideas for the rest. I can confirm there is going to be a 25th anniversary review of Space Jam.
Ooh.
Yay.
Ooh.
Nice.
I'm not entirely sure.
It is apropos since the new one's coming out this year.
Yep.
I'm not too entirely sure how I'll address the soundtrack with R. Kelly, but I'll come to that bridge when I get to it. I can confirm I am going to be reviewing the first Ace Ventura and The Mask.
Ooh.
But this one you already knew about. It's the 20th anniversary of that movie this year. And it's one Win and I universally despise.
Oh boy.
Yep. And I know what some people say, but you've reviewed this movie already. Yes, but not to the standard that I've set for myself in the last 2 to 3 years. Keep in mind, this is back when I was using my previous microphone and not the Yeti, because if it had not been for Kaiju's recommendation and partial insistence, the audio wouldn't be as clear as it is now. Ideally, and this also depends on IRL as well, because you guys know that I have a little bit of a situation later this year. Hopefully it's not going to interfere too much, but it may cause some parts of the season to be delayed. We'll get to that bridge when we come to it. One review that is going to come up, let's just say there is going to be another old versus new. And it will involve Retro acting like a jackass again. But then again, what else is new? But no, if we're able to, we will work in the 14th anniversary of the 2007 Transformers movie, but it all depends on my situation over here. I'm not going to go into specific details about that because people don't need to know about it, and not to sound rude or anything, but that's none of their business. That's personal. But if I can get things under control, Raiden, for season 17, if you're able to do this, how do you feel about doing a collab review for Straight Outta Compton?
Oh, dude, you know I'm down. I am down. I am so down.
Alright. Yeah, a way to work that one in. Like I say, the next review that's going to come up, I can already imagine 2 weeks from now, Kaiju's going to be like looking at it, goes, "Why do you hate me?" Oh yeah, whilst I'm at it, I may as well put the link in for Secret of My Success, so that you guys on that side can see it on Amazon Prime. Let me see Secret of My Success. Prime. Let's see. Come on, do you have it on Prime?
Yeah.
Here we go. So at least you can check it out from that side, because no point me sending the UK one, because it's like, no, this ain't gonna help me, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, I've never heard of this movie, and I would like it if you were to check out some underrated gems in future reviews. Because, nobody ever talks about The Secret of My Success, and I've never heard of it until now.